What's up, y'all? I've been thwarted 3 times now trying to make this video on the computer, so I'm going to try it on my phone, so that's why I'm up and down this time. I don't know if it's going to work, but we gonna see. But anyways, I am and have been this holiday season really struggling with loneliness and being okay with being alone. Low battery just popped up on my phone. It's obvious that whatever I'm about to say is not something that they won't said, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Anyways, I've been struggling a lot lately with loneliness. My kids are super restricted thus far this holiday season, more so than ever. With the time that I get with them, and that has been lonely. There's some stuff going on with my parents that I've not gotten very much interaction about, so that's been lonely. I miss my person. He's not been around as much, just like all of these things are coming together, and I have not been handling it well. But before any of that even started, I had been making a conscious effort to live more in the moment and to be more grateful for the time that I do get with my favorite people, and to just really soak it in and realize that this is what I've been longing for all of these lonely times, and to really just be present with that and focus on the good in it, and not so much, bracing for impact of something bad or unexpected to happen. It's been a struggle, but tonight I was thinking about all of that, and had actually been studying for I don't know what it's going to be, biblical commentary, I guess, about who Jesus is and God being love and the soul and a whole bunch of other things, but basically boiling down to finding divinity within and relying on that as our purpose, instead of relying on external influences like the government to take care of us, or religion to tell us what to believe, or the education system to tell us how to think. Instead of doing all of those things and allowing our reality to be dictated by all of those things instead of what we really want and what we're really here for, to turn that focus back inward and to figure out who the fuck we even are to ourselves. And that's just the issue, like the goal here is unity. Unity and love are the same thing. To really love somebody means to take them as part of yourself. So if something happens to them, it's as if it happened to you. That's what love means. And accepting all of them into yourself, and not just nitpicking the little pieces that you like and trying to conform the rest of it into what you expect. That's not love. Love is unconditional. It's no matter what you do, no matter who you are, no matter what kind of junk you bring to the table. Love is unconditional. And God is love. 1 John 4 verse 8, I think. God is love. And the Greek word that is used in that verse is agape, which is literally translated as unconditional love. So, the goal here is love. It's to eradicate fear from our reality and live from a place of love and make our decisions from a place of love rather than fear. Because fear is division. Fear is separation. You cannot love someone or incorporate them fully into yourself if there's a piece of them that you don't accept because it's different from you. So that includes religion, skin color, politics, sports team. Like, if there's any one thing about another person that you can't accept, then you can't love them, because you're not willing to accept that piece of them as part of yourself. You see how this plays together in really what it comes down to is accepting every part of yourself. Because when you accept every part of yourself, you realize that you're not perfect either, and that you've got junk to bring to the table too. And it's not about getting rid of that junk. It's about accepting it and incorporating it into your being in a way that is productive for you yourself and for others. Usually these pieces of ourselves that clash with other people are really and truly the pieces of ourselves that we've lost along the way because somebody told us that it wasn't acceptable. Or we got the impression even that it wasn't acceptable. Somebody, gave us a crazy look about it or something at some point along the way, and we decided that that wasn't a safe thing to bring to the table. And so it creates this split or fragmentation within ourselves in which the piece of us that was into whatever that was, or who spoke in that way, whatever it is that we've had to disconnect from in order to fit in or in order to survive, that piece of us still exists. Like, we're not killing it. We're just shoving it so far down deep that we don't hear from it anymore. And instead presenting this persona or mask that denies that piece of us. And so when we realize that we're making judgments based on the pieces of ourselves that we've disconnected from in everyday interactions, like, where do your opinions about these things come from? That's question number one that everybody, myself included, needs to be asking on a daily basis. Like, if we're passing judgment on somebody, or, everybody has these things. Like, you cannot be a human on earth and not have prejudices of some sort. If you grow up with a family that has an opinion, you're going to carry that opinion into your adult life, most likely. And none of us, well, most of us, really don't ever stop to think, like, why do I like Alabama over Auburn? Obviously because Alabama's the winning team, but that's neither here nor there. But why do we choose the politics that we choose? Why are we Republican or Democrat or Libertarian? Why are we Christian? Why are we Baptist or Methodist or Church of God or Amish? Like, why are we these things? And why do we believe that those things are the way that they are, period? Like, it's so rampant in the church that this is the way, the only way, and everybody else is going to hell because they don't know the right way, because we do. And they don't agree with us, so they're wrong and we're right. That's just how it is. It's what we're supposed to just accept. But why? If you were born to another family, would you think that same thing? Or does your soul know different? And so any thought or belief that causes division, whether you recognize it as fear or not, any decision or belief or judgment or disagreement that causes division between yourself and another person, any division at all, is based in fear. Because fear is just an aversion. It's a gut instinctual aversion to another thing. It's not like, afraid. Like, that's frightened or terrified or surprised. Those are the adjectives or I think adjectives. We're not on grammar tonight. But those are the things, those are the words that describe that type of fear. At its root, the word fear means violent physical aversion to something. It causes you to want to put distance between yourself and that thing for any reason. Just like there's a crap ton of words for the word love in the Bible, like in the original language, there's just as much, if not more, different words, just as many, if not more, different words for fear. The fear of God is not being fearful of God. It's not being frightened or intimidated by God. The word that's used in that context, first of all, any Hebrew phrase in which there is a word in which there are two nouns next to each other, it's indicating ownership of the first by the second, or vice versa. I don't remember exactly which way. But anyway, if there's two nouns next to each other, it's showing ownership of one by the other. And so when we translate the angel of God, the word of God, I don't know what else, we understand that those things belong to God. But then we see the fear of God in the Bible, and we automatically take that on ourselves, like we're supposed to be fearful of God. That is not it at all. The word for fear that is used there in the original translation means a flowing in the gut. Well, I'm assuming that God doesn't have IBS. So we're going to take this in a spiritual context here. What flows in your gut? Your intuition. So the fear of God that we're all supposed to have and, follow our entire life, that fear of God is your gut instinct. This part of your body is what is associated with the soul. Like if you just close your eyes and think of the soul, you're probably going to think of your chest area in some kind of way. We talk about asking Jesus into our heart. Like this area is the soul essence. And so if we're in tune with that, which, by the way, that is literally a piece of God. In Genesis, it says that God formed Adam out of the clay and breathed the spirit of life into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. So the part of you that is animating this flesh suit is the spirit, is the breath of God. The whole thing is the soul, and that's the purpose we're supposed to be following. But the spirit of God is literally a piece of God himself. It is the breath of God given to each of us. So now my phone's dead, so we're going to try it on the computer again, see how far we get here. But where I left off before was talking about the fear of God being the intuition. So the intuition part of us, for me, it's literally in my chest where the solar plexus chakra is. But for all of us, like this part of our body, this is our mind, right? Like we associate this with our brain. And then like we can live without our arms and legs, right? So like the vital essential part of us, besides our head and our brain, is where we associate the soul residing. But in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, it says, God formed Adam out of the clay and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. So if we look at it in that context, the spirit or the spiritual side of us, so there's two pieces being put together here to make a soul. God created Adam out of the clay, so that's the physical body that we can see readily. Physical part of us. And then he breathed the breath of life into that body, and it became a living soul. So the two things that we're putting together to make a soul is the spirit or breath of life and the physical body. The soul is the perfect combination. Oh my God, I'm having light bulb moments. Okay, let's see if we can get it all out. The physical or the perfect balance, the perfect integration of the physical, which is associated with the masculine, and the spiritual, which is associated with the feminine. Yin and yang, light, dark, all of these things. It's just polarity. We talked about it before. It's two sides of the exact same thing. So that's literally two sides of the living soul. The physical body made of clay and the spirit made of the breath of God. Those things coming together are polar opposite ends of the same thing, the soul. So we each come here with a soul purpose or intention. And if we live in alignment with these two parts of our being balanced, then we walk with God like Enoch did, and maybe just deuce up out of here when we're done and not have to die or whatever. But probably not. But anyways, the goal here is to integrate both and to bring unity between these two polarities that exist in the duality of our reality. We live in a dual universe, and this is seen, God, in the Bible it talks about having ears to hear and eyes to see, and then you would know. But if you don't seek to find, then you'll just follow blindly, whatever. More or less, that's what Jesus said. But you really start to see Scripture in a different light. So this could be found multiple times, this merging of two separate things. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. That's two different things that are one. The Word was God, and the Word was with God. So those are two things, one thing. Okay, so now we know that our bodies return to the dust or the clay from which they were created, right? Like our physical body passes away. So essentially, the breath of life or the spirit of God that combines with this body to make a soul is on loan. And the goal here is to align our soul, the combination of the two, to align them in such a way that when the physical body passes away, our spirit, the breath of life, or the breath of God, the spirit of God, whatever, that part of us is meant to return back to unity with that God, divine creator energy. But if God is the universe, like, I don't know how to break that down really, other than to say that the universe has been around forever and theoretically will be around forever. It creates everything from itself. Everything that existed within it has always been and always will be. Like, that's God. It just is, okay? So if God is the universe, then one would assume that God would follow the laws of the universe, right? So the laws of the universe will not allow the energy that animates the flesh suit, the spirit of life, breath of life, all of that. It will not allow a piece of that is on loan to us and entrusted to us to take care of and return back to sender at the end of our life. That cannot rejoin with the whole if it does not match the vibrational frequency of the whole. And so if we are not living, essentially if we're living out of alignment with our true self in any kind of way, which is literally, the word sin means to miss the mark. You can't miss the mark without being out of alignment in some kind of a way. So we're missing the mark on this unity of our soul, the pieces of our soul. We're missing the mark on making this physical lifetime that we've been gifted by the Creator, aligning that with the intention of the Creator. And so we've wandered back to where we started, about being true to ourselves and showing up authentically. We are meant to find and, well, we do. We're not meant to, we do have all that we need within each of us, separately from the whole. We require connection and relationship with other people because they essentially mirror back to us. Like I was saying before, any kind of disagreement that separates you or causes division between you and another person is the opposite of alignment. But in that we have the gift of, if we're paying attention and asking the right questions, these conflicts that lead to division will also lead us back to unity and love, because they are shining a spotlight into the shadows that we're refusing to acknowledge within ourselves. And so that is why we require relationship, because the breath of life, the spirit of God that is within us, is also within every person on the planet. The ones that haven't heard about Jesus, the ones that worship Allah, the ones that don't believe anything at all. The breath of life, the spirit of God, lives in every single person, and it is God's desire for every single piece of himself to return to himself. So just the very nature of Christianity saying that it is the only way to accomplish that is so vain and divisive. And the current state of the world is providing us in a similar way to the connections that we make in relationship. It is providing to us a huge mirror image and a huge spotlight on where we're missing the mark individually. And in the same way that we can't look outside of ourselves for satisfaction or happiness or fulfillment or completion, the same way that we have to accept ourselves and love ourselves enough to be enough for ourselves, while also maintaining relationships. Like, we can't live without relationships, but it's just the balance of the two. Everything in this reality is a balance of polarity. But the contrast in that polarity that we have right now is absurd. And it is directly reflecting the contrast of polarity that we have within ourselves, because we have lost touch entirely with the piece of our essence that is the breath of God, that is that love and unconditional love and unity that is the very essence of God. God is love. I mean, we can't continue to await a savior or to expect someone else to handle these huge problems, or to allow these huge problems in the world to overshadow and distract us, because that's exactly what they're doing, is distracting us from the root of the problem, which is every individual person. And so we keep not only waiting for somebody else to save the day, but also placing blame for needing to be saved on somebody outside of ourselves. And that's never going to work. The only person that we can control is ourselves. We have absolutely, like even our kids, we have, when it comes down to it, we are not animating that flesh suit. It is not a remote control kid, and it's not a remote control husband or wife yet, which is a whole other video that's terrifying. But anyways, you can only control yourself. But there's plenty of junk in here in each and every one of us to keep us plenty busy and distracted from the bigger chaos that we can do nothing about. We have such a huge focus on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine and on the Gaza Strip and in the White House. Like, all of these things are huge distractions that we can literally do not one single thing about. Like, not any of us individually can go overseas and stop any of the conflict. If we walk up to the White House, we're going to get stopped by guards. Like, we can't do anything about those things. But we've got plenty of things that we can do something about that will distract us from all of that nonsense. And when we don't feed it the energy anymore, it's going to go away. Promise. Like, hide and watch. It's going to happen. And it's going to be because it's a direct reflection of what we're doing inside of ourselves. If everybody takes ownership for the pieces of this puzzle that we've fucked up, then the puzzle gets fixed. I can't look at the back of your hand of cards and tell you what to play. I can't tell you if what you just put down that I can see was the right play. I can only see mine. And if we're assigning puzzle pieces in this grand design, I'm the only one that knows how to place my puzzle pieces when I'm in alignment, when I'm attuned to the breath of God within me and living in alignment with my soul's purpose or intention. Then I know how to place my puzzle pieces, and I can't force anybody else to move their puzzle piece so that I can put mine where it goes. Even if it's in my spot, I can't force them out of the way, but I can show up to that spot and demonstrate by how I live that that's where I belong. And the same way, I can't tell the person who is in my spot where they should be. They've got to figure it out on their own. But all of those things that are outside of ourselves are really just distractions from what we're here for. And what we're here for is to find that divinity inside of ourselves and create heaven on earth by living in alignment with our soul's intention. I think that's all for tonight. We'll see. Thanks for listening.